tell you a personal story that happened about 2 months ago. My mother-in-law was ran off the road by a truck. Either the person didn't notice her or fled the scene. She went over the side, rolled a couple of times, and a tree stopped her from going into a ravine or a creek down there. She spent 8 hours there. She didn't have a cell phone because her and her husband cannot afford to carry two cell phones or whatever. Her husband had the cell phone. And in the event, she was there for 8 hours. She finally got the courage and took matters into her own hand and pulled herself out of there by jumping off the top, the door, and walked to the nearest place to get some help. She was okay. She's just a little shaken up, and the adrenaline finally wore off and was sore and bruised. But if she stayed overnight, she probably would have died of hypothermia. What I have for myself and my wife and my family is these GPS trackers on a service called APRS, Automatic Packet Reporting System. It's primarily used in the ham amateur radio field. This is just an introduction of what I'm talking about. So basically, my wife and kids could track me when I go out of town to work on a job or something like that, and they could know exactly where I'm at. Usually I go up on the hills in the back country, and there's no cell phone coverage or anything, but there is APRS. Amateur stations out there have their setup at home, and signals could be bounced from mountaintop to mountaintop without the use of the internet, and still be able to reach my wife in the PC at home to figure out where I'm at. And when the internet is up and everything, which always is now, it just goes through the internet, and they could track me over the internet. So here are the two most popular TNCs, terminal node controller for APRS. The first one is from a company called Bionics. Bionics.com. TinyTrack 4. They have a TinyTrack 3s, which is smaller than this and not as much capabilities as a TinyTrack 4. Then, in my opinion, the best tracker out there, or TNC, is from Argent Data Systems. And as a comparison, it's a little bit bigger than the TinyTrack 4. But here's your computer port. Here's the radio interface port here. And on the tracker, this is the same thing. You have your radio port here, and your computer interface here, or GPS. And this is an earlier version. Some guy in Argentina makes this in his garage or something. He was selling it on eBay, and it does pretty good and everything, but it's just a plain TNC, terminal node controller. And this side right here is the interface for your radio, and on this side is for your computer data, RS-232 serial communications. And it's a little bit more cruder than the other two. It's not as nicely made, but to practice and to get my feet wet, this is what I got first thing some time ago. For GPS tracking, you could use various models of GPSs, as long as you have a serial cable output, or a cable to adapt to these devices. And I've used all of these devices on my tracker, from a hockey puck, which has this GPS receiver. And the best receivers to get these days is it's the Surefire 3 chipset. It's the most sensitive GPSs out there, and I could actually put this inside my vehicle on the side panel somewhere, and it'll still track the satellites. And this is one sold by Bionics. Pretty good. This is really good. It's magnetized on one, so it could stick inside your vehicle and whatnot. This is the circuit board in there. I had this so I could make my own enclosures or custom made interface. But this is the receiver, GPS receiver. Here's a more modern GPS from who is it? Earthmate, Delorme, and it's got the chip 3 Surefire 3 chipset on it. that works. And here's the interface port. There's a cable you can get from them that matches this to the RS-232 port. In older E-Treks, it's got a lower receiver in it, but it still works. And there's your interface. Again, they sell the interface cable cheap on eBay, including here. And here's a Garmin Nuvi 750. And they also have a GPS cable that would fit this model onto our trackers. So all of these devices, all of these GPSs will interface with it without a problem. Now you can interface many types of radios to this system. You could use your HT. This is an amateur HT VX7R. And through the microphone speaker mic jack here, they sell all sorts of splitter cables to spread out the signals and everything, or the transmitting audio. And you can interface this radio to your tracker device, or TNC, terminal node controller. This is what I run in my vehicles, my private vehicle and my work vehicle. This is a Bendix Keen radio, and what I like about this radio is that there are a dime a dozen on eBay, VHF. So and I modified this to work off of the ham channel. And what I like about it is it would take direct 12 volts. So this is a battery, AA battery case that I've modified. It was broken, but I've kind of fixed it and modified, and went directly into 12 volts car battery. So that's where I get my power to this, and it also feeds into my tracker. It feeds the power to the tracker here to turn it on. And so there's many different ways to interface this particular model. You've got this connector here that I've jimmy rigged and made the connections to interface to the tracker. In another video, I'm going to interface this with the unit, and I'm going to show you step by step the basics. So that's coming next. But you can interface this radio here. Then you have your mobiles, car communication systems, and you can interface this into it through the accessory port right here in the back there. You just got to know what your transmit pair is, your receive pair, and your push to talk signal. And I will get deeper into that in another video. But you could interface all sorts of radios to it. I've seen repeaters interface with it, and many other types, FRS radios, GMRS radios, all that stuff. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. Here's my service truck configuration. Battery power feeding into my clamshell, modified broken clamshell. I just connected all this up to it, which powers up my radio. And I'm tuned to the APRS frequency, 144.39 megahertz in the ham band. And modified side connector here, which I could take the antenna output, feed it into my truck antenna, quarter wavelength antenna on top. Then the audio, transmit audio, receive audio, and push to talk. That means push to talk means yeah, PTT, push to talk. Brain fart. That's the signal that tells this thing to transmit, and it feeds into my Argent Data Tracker 2 here. And that green light means I have a satellite, the GPS satellite lock on it. And here's that adapter again that I use to interface to another radio on the fly. So I have a Linko DR635 mobile radio that puts out 50 watts of power. If I need more power, let's say I'm in a remote area and it's not enough to get into a digit repeater or what have you, and I need more power for whatever reason, I could just disconnect this cable from this radio here, and in my other radio I have another output that I could feed into this on a fly and send out data that way. But for my purposes, and there's so many digit repeaters out there, that this is enough. 5 watts. I don't need any more than that. And then the other port here, my serial data port, which hooks up to the little GPS hockey puck here. And I believe it's got a solid light on it. Tells me, oh, right now I lost signal of my satellite. That's why it's blinking. If it was solid, I have a lock. Also, you could tell from the red light here, that's saying there's no lock on the GPS. But anyway, that's how that's fed. Now, the beauty of this Argent Data Tracker 2 is that the serial port here is divided in two, and they sell like this adapter here, and I could hook this up to a computer or a Garmin fleet management interface GPS, or you know, I'll demonstrate that later. So really quick, this is our family car. Here's my radio, surplus, tuned to 144.39, the United States National APRS frequency. And I like using Cat 5 to interface to these here, and I got these adapters for vehicle installation because they're standard. I could buy one of these and just cut it in half, and it's ready to go. I personally make my own cables, but you know, that's another thing. But it's just modular. I could just stick it on this and you know, plug and play and go. Tracker attached. Here's my GPS interface, and I got one of those little sort of hockey puck looking GPSs, and I have it running up on the floorboards on the inside of my leg well, and it's actually hidden. The GPS receiver is actually hidden in this post here, windshield post. And that receiver, like I said, the Surefire chipset 3 model, it's so sensitive that I can still have reception of satellites in this location here. So it's hidden there, nobody knows that it's there. Now to connect my antenna, here's my antenna cable going into my modified side connector there. That's hooked up to the radio, the output. And here's the one connector with the BNC barrel, and coming along the floorboards there, I got RG58 cable going all the way to the right to the back NMO mount here. So it's a straight shot right here to this bad boy, and it's just coming down the floorboards just right here. And I just hooked that up real quick, just like so. Before I installed the NMO mount, I used to have it installed in the front bumper, and that connector there is hooked up to a coaxial antenna in the front bumper, and this is what it looks like. It's just the center conductor stripped, and the shield that wrapped around the center conductor, I just stripped that back and sort of separated the two, and I made a field expedient dipole antenna center fed. Since it's center fed, I really do not need a a ground plane, because it's a dipole, and that naturally presents 50 ohms to the radio, so my impedance is right, and also it's a half wave antenna. In the front bumper, my front bumper is plastic, so it'll radiate through it. The only problem that I have is it's horizontally polarized, and all the antennas out in the field is vertically polarized, so I'm losing a lot of power, but it still works even with 5 watts being transmitted out of the radio here. There's so many receivers out there and digit repeaters that I still get some reporting. But now that I changed over to a vertical antenna in the back with a good ground plane and everything, I have more resolution on the mapping programs because I got more signal being registered. And finally, my 12 volts car battery power feeding directly into the radio. It's fused, of course, from the battery side, so if it does short, it's just going to blow the fuse way up front and it's not going to burn anything. But I have everything. I got power, I got my interface to the TNC, the terminal node controller, and I have my GPS hooked up to it, and I'm ready to track, and my antenna too. That's all hooked up. All I got to do is just tuck this away on the quarter-foot panel on the inside here, hidden away, put all the furniture back, and I'm done. And it's going to be tracking without anybody knowing. So there it is, the final product. It's all tucked in there. It's not going to slip out. And if I go backwards here, that's it. It's all hidden away. So here's my Hilltop digit repeater, and this is one that I've installed up here on the mountain. This one is owned and run by me, and I have it in here so I could have it repeat my digital data. The reason why I put this digirepeater up here is so not only to have a digirepeater for outside units and stuff like that to come in and report their packets and repeat their packets, but this wire right here, this is the same wire, and the wire is hooked up to this relay, this alarm relay. So this is a generator transfer panel, so whenever we lose power up here in the mountain, this alarm relay will trip, and that signal will travel down my cable here onto my digirepeater, and I programmed the digirepeater to say if you sense that relay closing or opening, it's an alarm condition, and send an email to me saying that we lost power up here on the hilltop. So here's my Argent Tracker 2, and that wire in the front there is my alarm from the transfer panel. So when there's an open on that line, it's going to set an alarm condition which will change the profile. When the profile changes, it's going to transmit to me that something's going on up here. That green light that's going on, those are people sort of or packets being received by this unit, and you just seen it go transmit. That means there was a valid packet come in and it repeated that packet out to the world. So a vehicle down in the valley has transmitted up to me, and it's going on again, and you can hear that sound of the packets. That's the actual digital information being transmitted back and forth. There it is. I just got an email. So here's the email that it's just sent me, and it's just a simple, clear one-liner text message: alarm clear. And it did send it. Sorry for the focus. It did send it to my work email address. So from up here, it covers this whole area here. We got the valley down here. That little HT handheld will cover all this. And here's the mountainside. And it'll cover this whole area. And by the way, there's more of these digirepeaters 20 miles south of me and about 30 miles north of me. So it got hopped from those mountaintops to my mountaintop to another mountaintop into a receiver that feeds it into the internet. And you're not dependent on the internet. You could just have a scanner, a laptop, or a what you call it, those navigation devices with the fleet management interface, and you use that. And here's that tracking website, APRS Fi, and all these little symbols here are individual trackers sending out their data over the airwaves, and then received by receivers and fed into the internet. and those lines being shot out basically is showing the how the path of your digital signal is being transmitted. So when I hit this guy here, you see that signal has traveled all the way to here, to this mountaintop here in Nevada City, and he's way down here in Davis or Vacaville. So that's a pretty big long hop there, and that's how you could track your people. And this is the information that is presented to itself when you click on one of the icons. The guy's amateur call signal, he's got his email here, but I don't want to show that to you guys. And you don't always have to use your call sign. You can use a tactical call sign like geek number 1 or geek number 2.
Hello? Hello? What? You still there? Yeah, man. Don't you go nowhere. Hello? Who is this? Hello? What's up? Who is that? Hello? Oh, please speak to me.